Nigga Triptantia Atote Sura Go Ocho Nabo Gavadu Gavada Yazuha Go Nanio Begin Tachio Mocho Najav Kini Piabito Ludi Piamra Pijara Jaganale Sibori Cheda Kuringa Yaneo Mankane Nine Matacho Nairo Manene Nairo Lumjatanari Sony Lavjeta There are Lumjatanari Shosho Turi Pielaro Lutoga Uri Piatambiro Soya Uri Durio Tindia Guru Triptavana Dia out of Kujantiari Kaumi Soluchi Ubriha Maludra Pietoma Amakanimada. The Gavalo died a maternity on Nova. Tao later with a gentleman Osudi Maro. The Goye Ninja Yere, Unji Ninja Yero, Yavoti Javare. The Triptantia Machita Miaro, Ninja Yero, Magana Ninja, David Chile Ninja Yero, Benine Mamiani. There are good Triptavana Dia, but Mazo. Kuri Ninja, to go in Ninja, Yabo, Yichizon, as a Nalevido. Kuri Ninja, Yadu, the Bogore, Yogi, the Lavida, Atu Jara. Atu Korea, Jala, Anu, Kuri Yanego body. Kintomu appear one at Titona Lucia. Yanino bacon, so I want to joke with it. Coco, Aviara, Coco, Pitina, Piaji Dragon, Kaya Kayara, Logi Uri, Yeyu Kayara, Goga, Konosida, Tombalu, Union Tavis, or Lucia. Diwa ma level say at the body ma a cow when you mau, sorry, Jogada, so consumptively with Cheddar. Daria, I mean, I chop with a cornet. Bezo Gidi, but they chop with a Miashi. Titia Atolo Kujiti Lale Piezo, say Harry level cow. A dinya level or Lola Pitovi solution. Loga Coco Naidu Pitome. Do ya do come a pay to one chain, each out below to Saravoli, Edician apart of her.
Yesterday, Sayadawgyi said that the practice of satipatthana is for controlling oneself, learning to govern oneself. Most people of the world aren't able to control themselves. They aren't able to keep their minds clean. And so there are many problems in the world. Just look at the world, the number of places where war is occurring, where fighting is occurring, where injustice occurs. So because one can't control or eliminate the internal enemy with a reliable, correct method, because of that, there is a complete array of social problems in the world. And these problems are very complex. And due to such problems, there must be the intervention of law or government to control human behavior. When we practice satipatthana and our morality becomes complete, then there's no need for external law for oneself, because one can guarantee that one is not going to do any harm. And for a group of people, a community of people who practices and can develop this type of situation, they can definitely gain peace both on an individual level and for their community. Without satipatthana, there is no way to gain peace. So seeing that satipatthana is what can bring us individual peace, and that this is a most important means for bringing peace not only to ourselves, especially to ourselves most importantly, but to those around us. People seeing this come here to practice. And understanding that one can, that one needs to work to eliminate the gross misdeeds, the moderate misdeeds and the refined misdeeds, that one needs to work to eliminate these. Eliminating such misdeeds, one also eliminates the danger, the major dangers which can come to one. First of all, when one does something wrong, one knows it and one blames oneself when one realizes the wrong that one did. And further, one is criticized by others when one commits gross, medium, refined misdeeds. One, furthermore, if one has broken the law, then one is subject to punishment by law. And one whose physical, verbal, and mental behavior has become base does not have a good life either in this life or in the ones to come. They just experience bad results. So these are the four major dangers which are to be feared. Of course, there are many other things to be feared connected with misdeeds. So when one practices this Dhamma, one develops good morality, one is able to keep one's mind clean, and to whatever one extent one is able to, one develops knowledge. In this way, one becomes a person who can master themselves. And one will, because of this, one will be considered a person, one will be known as a person who does not create any trouble for one's environment.
Jisore sora, ochokde sora, ochoye sora, anaro lenetune ochowaraga, mankamau. Ochokde pokore korega eradine ocholuchi, Dainda Piduriga, Anna Lene, Jauda Monkaniata, Ochodu Pomaro, Beroma Machinafu. Anna Lene Mapavene, the other way Ochobi solution, Dainda Piduriga, Eri Ochote to go, Tomo Ochote of Fuego. I chicken you the jare. Popular letter Ochote Puguri Corena. Through body. A Mari, Miam Pia, Malushi, and the Wukana 30 Shiva. Judy Mira Ochoye Pinari, through Ochoye Pinari. Nale Taro. They be below Ochoa Mesoraboli. Dhamma Joni was also leader Taro. Lady Bogorima, Ocho Nevada. Go to Koye Ocho Poga, Po Yechiware. Go Chiso Nabo, they Yechiware. Mangane Boma Yojimuri, Piabido, Boa Piamara Pietamio. Aloe Tabido 30 day Kaunamio, Sunzaramio. Eramio Macomo. Either Luca Bede Hare, 3 years Ramio. Everyone Susu say never, little Kare Janzini Ramio. Erane Sate, Mamankane, Misa, Pinyari, Pini Ramio. Damio Macomo. Coco Lemocho now. Go on you Lemocho now. Go me that's Lemocho now. Ocho Yeti Pietora. The go Kavama, the go ye Ocho Mishida Dwet. Go Manai Uyedi Yare Dwet. City Pinijara. Coco Nabo take ye. Mania era di Pioge Vada. Indria. India Sara Coco Manana Poco di Coco Nabo. Era di Nago Sofia Michado Vada. Kaunapi, Conjoyata, Soda, Soviet, Soda. Chiga, Disita, Yojimu Shia, and Alia de Yichivada. Materials are Matematico, Joe Shauno, Sanes Savido, Sojo Miabupo. Te the Lamativene, Yan Salucino, Ducati Yoto. The Juriti Tavido, Materials are Saye, Sojo, Tere, Timothy, Arab, Yetinas are Saye, Conjuya. This is a Joshi Taluchi. Matera Shauno, Sojo Miadalu. Terari, Daitane, Saro, Conjuya the Luther, to do it. Matanjin, Soyote, Yang Zane, Conotera, Bumidia, Sojo de Yare, Sodavodi. Won't you never took her beard? Era di due, Ye Nida ha, da Piatanari, people were Sodavodi. Era di Sabido Dria Nida, era di Sabido Suicida, era di Sabido a coat, Nianevali, Mamangane, Dian, Pinida, Daria, Sujo, people were Sodavodi. Go work, Ochogi, Piecona. Era Sapina, Bologna, Babu, Ocho Tapu, seeing no Diana Yavo. Ari Pia. Junki Ari Pieto, Somali. Ye Ari Pieto, so you are a Hari, showing it 30. Mali, Wire 30. Go you pin any Hari, go, Loyer 30. Toto Loyer 30. JM. At the low 30 Yoshilo, Kauna 3 lady, Tanshina 3 lady, Noga Laila, 3 Shidro. Suicide teaching with the Marili, Tinia de Pola, Dini Neve, Mimita Namha, Black or some Ari body, our corner killer. အဲ့ဒါတွေဖြစ်လာပြီဆိုလို့ရှိရင်မယုံကြည်စရာအကြောင်းနဲ့တွေ့လို့ရှိရင်ကိုယ်ရှိတဲ့ယုံကြည်စွမ်းကထိန်းချုပ်ထားတော့တာပဲရိုက်မသွားဘူးယုံကြည်မှုတွေပြတ်မသွားဘူးရဲရဲမှုတွေရှိထားတော့ကောင်းတာအမှားတွေပြုဖို့ကြုံလို့ရှိရင်ရှောင်ရတဲ့တတ္တိတွေမှန်ကန်တယ်လို့ရတဲ့တတ္တိတွေတတိသမารိပညာတွေဒါတွေကအဲ့ဒါတွေဖြစ်လာလို့ရှိရင်ကိုကြီးစိုးနိုင်တာပဲအုပ်ချုပ်နိုင်တာပဲစွမ်းရည်ကြီးလာမှသူကအုပ်ချုပ်နိုင်တာပဲဒီတော့လူရည်လို့ဖြစ်လာပြီဆိုလို့ရှိရင်တကူရေးလိုအပ်တဲ့စွမ်းရည်ကိုတင့်တော်တဲ့နည်းနဲ့ဖြည့်ပြီးတော့အုပ်ချုပ်ရေးနိုင်ပြီဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ကိုယ်အတွက်နဲ့ဝန်းကျင်ပြဿနာတွေဘာမှမရှိဘူးအေးချမ်းမှုသာရှိတော့တာပဲအဲ့ဒါတွေကိုမြတ်စွာဘုရားကမြင်တော့စိတ်ပိုင်းဆိုင်ရာအားတွေဖြည့်တဲ့နည်းကိုနိုင်နေအုပ်ချုပ်နိုင်တဲ့နည်းတွေတဲ့မြတ်စွာဘုရားပြေးသွားတာ
To rule, to govern. Government should not be done by force. It's not correct to rule by force. If rulers apply force to govern, then the people hate that use of power. And they will never be satisfied with those ruling them. On the other hand, if people don't rule by force, but rule by just means, then the people will love and cherish those leaders, that group. Because when such governments don't commit wrong, at least not on a large scale. And when they do, they admit it. And such rulers understand how to rule by Dhamma, by investigating and learning how to rule by Dhamma. So such people are able to lead. What's more important, is to learn to rule oneself. When one can govern oneself, then one can keep one's life from falling apart, from being scattered, from being aimless. One should have the courage when one has the courage to do things which are wrong, this is not good. When one has the courage to do what is wrong, then one is not focusing one's attention wisely. One's mind is becoming the type of concentration one has is wrong, and what knowledge one has is also wrong. So when one is not working in a just way, one doesn't know how to control oneself. One doesn't know how to lead one's environment, control one's environment, or control one's family. One can't be a leader. And thus one's rulership is destroyed. So in the world, because individuals are not able to control themselves, then on a group level, the societies also groups are not able to control themselves. And yesterday Sayadawgyi mentioned this. The word in Pali for ruling is indriya. It means to govern or to governing factor, ruling factor. And there are 5 of these. The first is faith. Faith in the basic knowledge that when we do something good, it brings good results. When we do something bad, it brings bad results. Faith in this understanding, this basic knowledge, is very important. One knows that if one avoids bad food, eating bad food, one will therefore, one won't get bad results. And one knows that if one just eats randomly, one will randomly get some bad results. And therefore, one also knows that one has to eat good food, what is good for oneself in moderation, in order to have good health. And understanding this, one also understands that in the same way as we have to avoid eating bad food to get bad results, and eat good food in moderation to get good results, so too we have to avoid bad actions. And if we avoid bad actions, then we will avoid the bad results. But if one doesn't have this basic faith in the fact that good things bring good results and bad things bring bad results, if one thinks that it doesn't matter what one does, then based on that faith, one makes effort in the wrong way. One carries out things that are harmful. One's attention that comes from one's making effort is also wrong. One's concentratedness is also applied in the wrong way, and what arises is knowledge that is twisted. It's not accurate. And in that way, one's own ability to control oneself is ruined because of the basis. One has a false basis for acting. So in order for that not to happen, one has to fulfill one's energies. First, the energy of faith, with this basic understanding of good brings good, bad brings bad. One has to fulfill the energy of one's courage. One has to have the courage to avoid doing, saying, and planning things that bring bad results, and to carry out things that do good results, and to continue in this vein. One has to have the courage in these areas. If there is courageous effort in this way, then sati will follow, collectedness of mind, and then knowledge. So in this way, mental powers become amazingly strong. And then, because of strong faith, for example, when there's something that comes up that could destroy one's faith, that could disturb one's faith is not destroyed by that. And although one has the opportunity to commit misdeeds, for example, one has the courage to avoid. One doesn't go that direction even though the opportunity arises. One's sati becomes even stronger, samadhi and panya. So when these controlling powers become strong, they can govern very well. And this will eliminate problems both for oneself as an individual and for those around one. The Buddha, seeing this, taught a method for developing self-control, for learning how to govern oneself.
ကြောင်းမဖြစ်တာမဟုတ်ပါဘူးစပ်ဖတ်ရုံနဲ့မရပါဘူးတွေးဆရုံနဲ့မရပါဘူးအချင်းချင်းဆွေးနွေးရမရပါဘူးတကိုးကြီးတယောက်ကချပေးလို့ရတဲ့အရာမျိုးလည်းမဟုတ်ပါဘူးဆူတောင်းရုံနဲ့လည်းမရပါဘူးတိုက်ယူခိုက်ယူလို့လည်းမရပါဘူးအကြောင်း၉ချက်ရှိပါတယ်အချက်လက်၉မျိုးရှိပါတယ်အဲ့ဒီအချက်လက်၉မျိုးနဲ့ဒါရရှိနိုင်ပါတယ်နဝဟာကာရေဣန္ဒြိယာနိတိခာနိဘဝန္တိရဲ့၉မျိုးသောအချက်လက်တို့ဖြင့်၉မျိုးသောအကြောင်းတို့ကြောင့်၉မျိုးသောအကြောင်းတို့ဖြင့်တတ္တဆရှိတဲ့ကြီးစိုးတရားတွေဟာထစ်တန်လာတတ်ပါတယ်တဲ့ရှင်းလင်းပြတ်သားလာတတ်ပါတယ်ပြတ်သားတယ်ဆိုတော့ဒါပြောတာပဲပလိဓာလေးတွေများသိရှိတယ်ဆိုပြတ်လွယ်တာပဲသူကထက်တဲ့ထက်ရင်ပြတ်သားတာပဲရှင်းတယ်ထိလိုက်ရင်တိကလေးဆိုပြတ်သွားတာပဲဒီမှာတော့အဲ့လိုဖြစ်လာနိုင်ပါတယ်တဲ့အဲ့ဒီကိုမျိုးသောအကြောင်းအချက်အကြောင်းဆိုတာဘာတွေလဲလို့ဆိုတော့ဥပ္ပနုပ္ပန္နနာသင်္ခါရဏခရမေဝပတ္တိတဲ့ကိုယ်တွေကခန္ဓာဒိဋ္ဌပွင့်တတ်ခေါ်တဲ့ယုံနာတဘာဝတွေဟာဖြစ်ပေါ်ပြီးတော့တခဏချင်းပျောက်သွားတာပဲအဲ့ဒါလိုပျောက်တဲ့အပိုင်မြင်တဲ့အထိရှုရမယ်ဒါကလည်းပဲပေါ်ပြီးတော့ပျောက်တာကြီးပဲလို့ယုံကြည်ကြီးလည်းရှိထားရမယ်မြင်အောင်လည်းရှုရမယ်အဲ့ဒါပထမဆုံးအကြောင်းအချက်ပဲသူကတော့ဒီယောဂီတွေဘုံပင်ဝါစာကိုယ်ရဲ့ပေါ်သမျှဟာတွေကိုမလွတ်တမ်းစိတ်အားစိတ်ချိန်လိုက်ပြီးတော့အားစိတ်ရှုနေကြတာပဲတော့ဒီပြီးတော့ပြောက်ကြားပြီးတော့ပြောက်နာပြီးပြောက်စားပြီးပြောက်ထိပြီးပြောက်ထိပြီးပြောက်တက္ကနာလေးပြောက်တက္ကနာကြီးပြောက်သွားတာပဲအဲ့ဒါတွေအချိန်မီပေါ့လေအုံမိအောင်ဒါတွေတည်သွားအလေးချင်းလုပ်ရပါတယ်တော့ငါကလည်းဒါတွေပြောက်တာကြီးပဲဆိုတာပေါ့လေခံယူချက်ရှိထားနေရပါတယ်တော့
For these ruling factors, these Dhammas starting with correct faith, to become powerful, when they do, then they can then govern. So for these to become strong, it doesn't happen without cause. It doesn't happen just by reading, nor by discussion. These 5 factors, starting with faith, don't become strong by an act of God. They don't become strong by our wishing for them or by making it happen by force. There are 9 causes for the governing factors, the indriyas, to become strong. And with these 9 factors, one can strengthen the indriyas. There's these 9 factors make the indriyas keen and sharp, clear. So this is what happens. And the first of these 9 factors is that one has to observe to the point where one can see how the mind and matter within one's body, the base, the striker, and the spark, arise and pass away. So one has, with faith in the practice, one applies effort and aiming to observe the object. And the yogis are doing this, starting with the rising and the falling, the yogis try to observe every object that arises, applying ardent effort and accurate aiming so that one doesn't miss. And these objects which arise in the body, they come and go very quickly, so one has to try hard to catch them. So one has to work to see at this level.
မိကိုယ်ထဲမှာယုံနာတရားတွေပေါ့လေတစ်ခုနဲ့တစ်ခုဆက်ဆက်ပြီးတော့ဖြစ်နေတာဒါဘယ်သူမှမမြင်နိုင်ဘူးအတီးတီးသူတို့မှာကိုယ်စီသဘာဝလက္ခဏာလေးရှိကြတယ်အဲ့ဒါလေးတွေကပေါ်ပြီးတော့ပျောက်ပျောက်သွားတော့တူညီတမညာလက္ခဏာလေးတွေရှိကြတယ်ကိုယ်စီသဘာဝလေးတွေသိဖို့ကတော့သူတို့ဖြစ်ခိုက်လိုက်ရှိရတာပဲညီခိုက်ကြားခိုက်နားခိုက်စားခိုက်ထိခိုက်ထိခိုက်ဖောင်းခိုက်ပိန်ခိုက်ကြွားခိုက်လှမ်းခိုက်ချခိုက်ကိုယ်ခိုက်ဆန်းခိုက်မြတ်တော်ကတ္တမလုပိဋ္ဌဖွင့်တာကအစပေါ်ဒီကုန်လုံးအဲ့ဒီခိုက်တာလေးတွေမှာကိုယ်လိုနီးနဲ့လိုက်ရှိရပါတယ်ဒီမှာဒါမှကိုယ်စီသဘာဝလေးတွေလက္ခဏာလေးတွေသိလာနောက်မှတူညီလက္ခဏာလေးလည်းပဲအလိုလိုသိလာမှာဘာမှလုပ်ဖို့မလိုအဲ့ဒါလိုသိဖို့ရာအတွက်ခုပဲဖြစ်ပြီးတော့ခုပဲပြတ်သွားတာအဟောင်းပြအတိဆက်ပုံလေးတွေပေါ့လေသိဖို့ရာတတ္တသတက္ကိစ္စကရိယာယသံပါတိတိယုံနာတရားတွေအပြည့်ကိုမြင်အောင်ကြည့်ရမှာတက္ကိစ္စကရိယာတဲ့ယုံတည်တယ်လို့ရပါတယ်ထိုင်တာကိုယ်ဆန့်လှူရှားတယ်လူမလို့ဖြည်းဖြည်းတတ်လို့ရပါတယ်အဲ့ဒီအချက်လည်းပြည့်စုံရပါတယ်ယောဂီကပြုံပြင်းနဲ့ထိုင်လိုက်ထားလိုက်ကိုယ်လည်းဆန့်လိုက်ဟိုကြည့်လိုက်ဒီကြည့်လိုက်မလို့ရဘူးယူသေးရတယ်ဆိုတော့ဒါပြောတာပဲဒီမှာ
In one's body, the mind and matter, nama and rupa, are connected with each other. And they all have their own characteristic, their own special quality. And they have characteristics in common, too. That is, they all arise and then pass away. To know them as they are, one has to observe at the very moment of arising, observing the rising when it happens, the falling, every seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, lifting, moving, placing, bending, stretching, blinking, opening and closing the eyes. So in the moment that these actions occur, one has to observe them. And then one will see their individual characteristics. And in time, one comes to see the common characteristics. One sees how the old is continually being replaced by the new. And to see how mind and matter arise and pass away depends on working respectfully. That means to behave as if one is a sick person. When one gets up, one has to perform actions slowly, carefully. One has to keep one's attention inside. Working respectfully means behaving as if sick, behaving as if blind, behaving as if deaf, and so on. And if one just looks here and there as one practices, if one gets up quickly, sits down quickly, bends and stretches quickly, then this is not respect for the practice.
Dutiyaro Sadhijagriya Tainta Quesa Lushari Luma Lulu Adalu. Very low say Kala Maleve. She got Pitware Podware Yali, Zetai Nogani, the Panditarama Sisao, Chuzavare. The Panditarama Hawi Matoya. Put a letter to Galaga, change on the Kunaku, meet well, Poyara, meet well, my Yellow. Yoya leve, Tiadu, Nyanduri Yama, Yellow. The Lube Ponia, Atonia, era Tatisa Kriya covered. Coago, Sinzajibo, set me a look at La Saravali. Tiny color was you, the low the Janet Chenima. Couple of Shinny the last body at a 2 year mother. Kunia Group, Yandore Kamale, Lulula, Shinny the Lazara, good 2 year mother. Mena Dedeka, Yemochureka, Kinjiking Suneka, Sare Todeka, Beloro, Saravali, Guagu, Yandondapo.
The second cause for the indriyas to become strong is satajjakirya, to, while we are behaving, like doing our actions like a sick person, like a blind person, and so on, one has to work so that one's observation is continuous. So that means that one has to make one's sittings, one's walkings, one's activities, all one's activities have to be a continuous stream of observation without breaks in between. So one has to examine oneself. One shouldn't go, by the way, one shouldn't go far from the Dhamma hall in order to walk, do the walking meditation, because it can break one's continuity. So one has to examine oneself, to ask oneself, am I observing in a continuous manner? When I get up from the sitting, do I let everything go? Do I continue my practice, or is the sitting the only time I practice? So one has to examine all the parts of one's day to see, when I take a shower, when I wash my face, when I use the toilet, am I applying full awareness in all those actions? So that one has to work continuously.
Not to check out Sabaya Kriya. Sabaya Suraga Simpira Boli Gone Dora Terra. Now, to the art of the yogi, to Tere, to a contribution, I was near Tangian. In the Tangian, I'm not saying matter. I let 2 years, I'm sure. Gosara, Poido Yano Yamado, Sunkan Sayadaw, Jeto, Sungan Yane, Manimo way to the man, Naganaga, the yogi Yado, Sungan Sayadaw, Pogudim, who are chip you with us, see it was sad. That Yatana people. But that Sabaya, Kamatansiaga, Domo, Anika, Suni Pere, the Acidic Trusia, Tentore, Nilan Lady Voliara, the Baza Sabaya Shiva. The Malay Baza Sabaya, Mia Chifuya Shiva. Havato Posero Bata, Pugalo, Pugo Tabaya. Pugla Tabaya Zarago, Nujare Pugu. Nujare Pugu, Nilan Jaja Voli, Didi Jaja, Nuja. Eliniaja, New China and Pogos, Pogola Sabaya Pita, Dale, 2 Pio. Pojana Sabaya, Sawataware, Sanija Ham, Mayaro, Nenero, Kekero, Shimawali. Tawali Tikayaro, Tana Zono, Nengaruga, Larepogori, Ahara Pitina Saro, 20 people. Udu Sabaya, Yadi Udu Leko Madatama. They lem Chana, they lem Bula, Loro Liva. Riyabata Sabaya, Yogi at Tangila Nilum Pipu. Yajila Nilum Pipu. Lansha with a Nilum Pipu, Agilo Nilum Pipu. Taillight, Zing and Shawlight, Taillight, Zing and Shawlight. Miatao, Josaya Vare. Miatao Josalo Chenda Riyabata Sabaya, Chinida. Here I don't know, don't you know, Nima, Jehovah, Matinito, Gonzing Lilover.
The third factor is sapaya kiryaya. And that means, sapaya means what is suitable for oneself. What is suitable for oneself as a yogi. And there are 7 types of things that need to be suitable. And the first is awasa sapaya. That means that one's dwelling should be quiet. Gochara sapaya means that for monks it means that where they go for alms round should not be too far away, nor too close. For yogis, one simply goes to the dining hall, so there's no problem with this. And the third is basa sapaya, and that means the teacher or individual teacher should be suitable. Sorry, Pidevaupya. Eret Boma Paupaupya. Basa Sapayana, Pugala Sapaya Belo Quadale Mathiva. Oh, Basa, sorry. Sorry. So the third is one's speech should be suitable, and that means that one should speak just with the teacher. The speech that one does should be suitable. Pugala sapaya means that the instructor should be suitable. They should instruct according to the method. And then bojana sapaya, the food and the drink that we eat should be suitable. And there could be some problems in this area, but one has to be patient with the food and the drink. To the best of their abilities, the people here are trying to provide food that is suitable. Uru sapaya, that means that the weather should be good. And the weather now is quite good. It's not too cold and it's not too hot. And the last of the 7 is iriyapata sapaya. That means our posture should be suitable. We shouldn't just sit all the time. We shouldn't just walk. We can't just stand all the time. We can't just lie down all the time. There has to be a balance between our postures. And if we balance our postures and don't do too much of any one, then we have balance of posture, or iriyapata sapaya. And Sayadawgyi is just, in about 3 days, he will explain about this, but for now, he's just giving you the headings.
ဒီအခွင့်အရေးကြီးကိုလက်မလွတ်ဖို့သိအရေးကြီးတယ်အခုလို့အစဉ်ပြေတော့ခါလေးနောက်တစ်ခုကတော့တရားထုတ်တဲ့အခါမှာတခါတခါလည်းအစဉ်ပြေတာလည်းရှိတယ်တခါတခါလည်းအစဉ်မပြေတာလည်းရှိတယ်တခါတခါလည်းအမှတ်တွေပြောင်းပြီးတော့စိတ်တွေတည်ငြိမ်ပြီးတော့ဗောလေသဘောတရားလေးတွေရှင်းရှင်းလင်းပြတ်ပြတ်သားသားသိရတယ်သမင်းစားသလိုပါပဲတခါတခါလည်းမိန်တယ်တခါတခါလည်းမမိန်ဘူးတခါတခါမမိန်မနဲ့ကြုံပြီဆိုလို့ရှိရင်တော့ဟိုတော့ကသမင်းမိန်ခဲ့တာဘာနဲ့မိန်ခဲ့လဲဘာလေးနဲ့တွဲပြီးတော့စားလို့မိန်ခဲ့တယ်ဆိုပြန်ကြည့်ရပါတယ်အဲ့ဒါလေးပြန်စားရပါတယ်ပြန်စားလို့ရှိရင်စားလို့တော့လို့ကောင်းလာတာပဲအဲ့ဒီသဘောမျိုးပါပဲခုတရားထုတ်တဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်ကလည်းပဲအချိန်လေးကနည်းနည်းကြာရက်ကလေးကနည်းနည်းကြာတော့တခါတခါအမှတ်မကောင်းလို့ရှိရင်ကိုယ့်ကိုပြန်စဉ်းစားရတယ်ဘယ်ချိန်ကဘယ်နေရာမှာဘယ်လိုမှတ်လို့ကိုယ်မှာထူးခြားတဲ့စိတ်တည်ငြိမ်မှုတွေရခဲ့တယ်ဆိုတာပေါ့လေအဲ့ဒါလေးပြန်ပြီးတော့သုံးသပ်ရပါတယ်အဲ့ဒီနီးဟောင်းလေးပြန်ပြီးတော့အသုံးချရပါတယ်အဲ့ဒီနီးဟောင်းလေးပြန်အသုံးချလို့ရှိရင်အမှတ်တွေကောင်းပြီးတော့ဣန္ဒြေတွေလည်းပဲကြီးစိုးတရားတွေလည်းပဲထူးခြားခြားဖြစ်လာတတ်ပါတယ်
So all these 7 types of suitability, Sayadawgyi believes, are mostly okay. So when we have this situation, when we have a suitable situation like this, we should try. But another thing is too that also sometimes things are okay for us, and sometimes they're not. And at those times, one can change one's mind. One can change what one is focusing on and get back to a situation where one feels comfortable again with one's practice. So to explain, like when we eat. What we eat sometimes tastes good to us, and sometimes it doesn't. But when we remember the good food that we used to eat, we can sometimes feel the good flavors again. And people here have been practicing for a while, and sometimes one's practice isn't going well, one's noting isn't going well. But if one reflects back on the time when one's meditation was good, so one thinks back to when was it good, and then one remembering that time, one remembers how one practiced at that time. And by doing that again, by practicing in the way that one did when one's practice was good, one can get back to a good situation in one's practice. One can overcome the difficulty. And working in this way makes the controlling faculties very special.
အမှန်ယုံကြည်ရေးမှာထက်တန်ရှင်းလင်းပြသတဲ့တရားကောင်းနေပေါ့လေအဲ့ဒီအခြေအနေဖြစ်ဖို့ရအတွက်အချက်အလက်9ပါးတွေကဒီရှေ့ပိုင်း5ပိုင်းလောက်ပဲပြည့်စုံတယ်ဆိုရင်တော်တော်လုံလောက်နေပါတယ်ယုံနာတရားတွေကတော့သူ့ဟာသူဖြစ်ပြီးတော့သူ့ဟာသူပြည့်သွားတာပဲဒါကိုယ်တော်မဟုတ်ဘူးအဲ့လိုယုံနာတရားတို့ရဲ့နောက်ဆုံးပြည့်သွားတဲ့အပိုင်းလေးကိုမြင်နိုင်လို့တဲ့အထိကြိုးစားအထောက်ရမှာတက္ကစ္စကရိယာယုတိတိအထောက်မှုနဲ့တတိစ္စကရိယာမယမနာဇက်တိုက်တမနဲ့တမဆက်ဆောင်အထောက်မှုသုံးသဗ္ဗယကရိယာတင်းတလျောက်ပတ်တဲ့အရာတွေကိုဖြည့်ပေးမှုဘာလို့လိုလဲဆိုတော့ငါအားထုတ်လို့တခါတခါမှတ်လို့မကောင်းဘူးဆိုလို့ရှိရင်မှတ်လို့ကောင်းခဲ့တဲ့အခြေအနေလေးတွေပေါ့လေအဲ့ဒါလေးပြန်ပြီးတော့သုံးသပ်တတ်မှုတဲ့အစာပိုင်းမှာဒီလောက်လုံလောက်တယ်ဆိုလို့ရှိရင် တရားတွေတိုးတက်ဖို့သိကြပါတယ်နောက်အခုဘုဇင်တရားတွေညှိတဲ့နည်းတွေပေါ့လေကိုယ်နဲ့မငဲ့မကွယ်ပဲတဲ့စွန့်စားအထုတ်ပုံလေးဖြစ်ပေါ်လာတဲ့ဝေဒနာကိုအသာစီးရအောင်အထုတ်ပုံလေးမြို့မနဲ့ပန်းတိုင်ရောက်တဲ့အထိမယမနာအထုတ်ပုံလေးအဲ့ဒီအချက်ကလေးတွေတော့ကြားနေပါသေးတယ်နောက်ရန်ကုန်ပြန်လာမှာပဲအဲ့ဒါတွေစာထုနဲ့လက်တွေ့ပေါင်းစပ်ပြီးတော့ရှင်းပါတော့မယ်ဒီနေ့ကတော့ဒါလောက်နဲ့ပဲရပ်ပြစီတော့ယောဂီတွေအဲ့ဒီအင်္ဂါနဲ့အညီအထုတ်နိုင်ပြီးတော့ပေါ့လေကိုဘဝကိုပေါ့လေစိုးမိုးအုပ်ချုပ်နိုင်နဲ့စိုးမိုးအုပ်ချုပ်နိုင်တဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်များဖြစ်နေကြပါစေလို့ညွှန်လိုက်ပါတယ်
So among the 9 causes which make our ruling faculties, our indriyas, strong, these first 5 which Sayadawgyi has mentioned are quite enough. If these first 5 factors that Sayadawgyi has mentioned. First of all, to see that mind and matter are arising and passing away. Well, they are already arising and passing away on their own. So that is not something we have to do. Well, all we have to do is to try to be able to observe this. And one needs to work respectfully. That's the second cause. Third, one has to work continuously without taking breaks. And fourth, one has to have suitability of place and so on. And then fifth, one has to, when one's noting is not going well, one has to recollect the times when one was practicing effectively. So if one fulfills these first 5, then one's Dhamma is sure to advance. So for now, Sayadawgyi has to leave aside the topic of how to balance the factors of enlightenment, the bojjhangas, and how to, with regard to pain, how to get to the point of overcoming pain. So for now, he has to leave those topics aside because he has to go to Yangon. But he hopes that and trusts that all of you will use this method and practice according to the instructions and become people who are able to rule themselves. So that is all for today.